Hi there. Hi. Hi, Bianca. I know. It's been a whole week since we've been on stream together.
I know. I haven't seen you on the Slack street. I haven't seen you on the Slack streets. Does that count?
Bianca, we had a team meeting this morning.
You're right. Okay, Alex. I was trying to give a build up for the like a child.
You know, look at all these nice, like the new background, new lower thirds. It's all
vibes.
good.
I was like,
yeah.
I was trying to act like, yeah, we saw each other, but like I was trying to give some content for the stream.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Bianca and I get to spend a lot of time together. I think even without the stream, I think I'm in more meetings with you than anybody else.
I know.
Which is great.
Mm-hmm. No, it's good.
Huge plus. Yeah.
I don't know, Alex. You know when they say the vocal inflection, it's great. Is that a lie?
Is that
great?
No,
yeah.
It's legitimately great. It's legitimately great.
It's authentic joy. I love how we all have we have our Twilio merch. We were united on our merch energy.
I was filming. I was we're working on a bunch of different videos, and I was filming a new tutorial for message scheduling, which is so hard to say, and I had to say it 1,000 times for this video. And I wore this shirt because it looks good, and because we, as you can see in our new background, have a lot of code confetti everywhere. And so they didn't want as much code confetti on me because we have code confetti in the background.
I love the dot. In my mind, I'm like, what are the conversations like, right? Because it's like, wow, no code confetti to Alex. Like, how does one
I've
even
tried a bunch of different shirt-ons. Okay, filming is wild. Well, okay. I'll talk. So like the first hour before I did my first shoot, because I'm self-filming, but we have like people that are editing and helping us produce and creating graphics, and like they're there, so they're like directing me. First hour was just like me getting set up and ready. Like, how do I get the lighting just right? How do I, like, what shirt should I wear? I tried like 6 different shirts on. It's a whole process, and it's a lot of fun, and it's exhausting as well. But
I think you underestimate, like, I feel like we've learned that even on this process with the chef of the Brents. And just having to understand like what goes into production, because I think you'll sometimes see some content and you'll be like, oh, that's super nice, it's super simple, but then you don't realize like, no, this is a whole operation.
Yeah, it's a lot, but we work with some cool people. I think it's the same. Chef Brent can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the people I was working with on the video are the same ones who did our like new backgrounds with code confetti. So I'm pretty excited for it. It's fun. And this is just like a whole new world for me, just getting into like the video production and all that stuff, which is cool. I also want to shout out this Twilio bot, because it's pretty wild that this little thing is picking up some interesting things in chat. I particularly like how it threw the shoe after recapping Robertable's quality joke before we got on, which I'm going to pull up. Give me 1 second. I got to get there. But
no, it was just, so funny.
It was good. It was good.
That's good. It's, I will say, when we had the drop, I was like, I hope Robertables doesn't think this game is rigged for Twilio devs, because it just like directly went into the pool, and I was like, we're fair here. So the bot is super cool. I think what was fun last stream was like how much it just like would use the context from what we had kind of mentioned. I will say my favorite was like, I think it was like a sushi burrito or so. It was something. It was like it pulls. So it was a good dash of humor, but also a good dash of context. So yeah, I was really feeling that. Let's see. Okay, so what do we have? What's the vision for today? How are we feeling?
Well, feeling, today.
That's real.
Today. Hey, Emily. Emily's joining us. My whole family's in town, so the whole weekend's been a little bit less rejuvenating than your typical weekend, but it's really nice to have them around. They love playing with my little daughter. But it's a day, and I'm excited that we're bringing another friend on.
Right. Very excited about this too.
Yeah.
This is good. I feel like we can introduce, but we're excited to introduce Marius.
All
Also
the way
shout
from Germany, like late night.
Yeah. Let's see, what time in Germany?
I'm guessing it's like 7:20 or 6:20. 8:20.
Wow. The dedication.
It's like my bedtime here.
Obviously, how much you mean to me.
Wow.
Oh,
thank you, Marius. Marius, don't make us cry. This is too early for me to cry. This is only like a few minutes in, people. I need some time. So yeah, we're super excited. Marius is a member of our team on DevNet, short for Developer Network. So yeah, we're super excited to have Marius on. Also, Marius will be doing a demo. It's so dope. It's really cool. So super excited about that. But Alex, you want to kick us off?
Sure. I guess so. Marius, thank you for joining us. Where are you calling in from? Germany? Where specifically?
Several states, like in the US, and the state is called Bavaria, but Munich is world famous for the Oktoberfest, which starts in September. Fun fact. It always ends in October. That's why it's called Oktoberfest.
Got it. And I know, like last time we talked, you're a frequent goer of Oktoberfest, right?
I am. So that's one of the things I love about Oktoberfest. It's like obviously world famous. People come from all over the world, but the people who live in Munich and Bavaria in general, they still go there as well. So it is not like a touristy sellout thing. It's like really where everyone goes. And I think last year I was 5 times in the first 7 or 8 days. But then I went on a trip, so that was the only time. I started really strong, and then in the second half I didn't go at all.
Yeah. And is there like a special beer that you drink there? Is there because I know like in the US there's like Oktoberfest beers. Is there like special beer for that event, or is it just like the standard beer is just in a different location?
So Pilsner in Bavaria, the default beer is Marius, which is a bit softer. It means like bright one, so it's six, 5.5, 6% ABV. But when you go to the US consulate, I think all year round, but especially during Oktoberfest, they have like a blackboard hanging out there, and it literally says, be aware that Oktoberfest beer is stronger than the beer you're used to at home. And they have like a table that says 1 liter of Oktoberfest beer is, I think they compare it to Bud Light, or they compare it to
it's like 2 Bud Lights. Bud Light's low. But like I have I don't drink a ton of beer, but sometimes you'll get beers and it's like 12%. I'm like, I can't do that. That's like, I'm out after 1 or half of 1. I'm like,
I'm not a beer person. I've tried, but I feel like, I've tried, but it's like, and especially it's so interesting because in the Bay there was tons of like lots of beer spots. That was a thing. Lots of, what is it? Beer gardens? Beer. Yeah. So
breweries. We have a ton of breweries here in Denver.
Yeah. So I was like, it's definitely, I was like, I've been trying to get into it. So maybe one day, maybe when I'll go on my tour, to maybe retry.
Yeah.
Oktoberfest is a good place because the beer is like, it's very mellow. It's not as hoppy it's like the opposite of an IPA basically.
Yeah, it's like maltier.
When you get it, when you're in the fest tent, everyone is like listening to the music or chanting along. So that's the right environment to try it.
What do you wear to Oktoberfest? And this is a very leading question because I think I know the answer and I want to know
the answer. Yeah, I mean, at least when I go there on the weekend, I obviously wear lederhosen, like the traditional outfit. There are some, I would say, occasions when, because it's in the middle of the city, sometimes you're just close by and you say, oh, let's actually swing by just for one beer, let's sit in there. And then I think, especially like on like a for after work visit, then you could just go in regular clothes. I think I personally make it dependent on how long am I planning to stay there. If it's just for one drink, then I could just go as I am. So a lot of people are, but the majority, like tourists as well as people from the city, they go in the traditional outfit. Yes.
Robertables wants to know what do you wear home from Oktoberfest?
What do I wear home?
I'm just trying to be silly.
Okay.
Nice. You grew up also in southern Germany, but on the other side in the Black Forest area, I know. Was Oktoberfest a thing there, or is it just it's big? It's just huge in Munich.
Yeah, there is only just one quote unquote real Oktoberfest, but of course, like there are Oktoberfests all over the place in the US and any other country. It's the same within Germany. So the village that I'm from is one second. I'm from their own here, which is just like for the local people. They serve the real food, and everyone's wearing the traditional outfit from Bavaria, even though in place. And then they try to mimic it. There is, I would say, the second largest fest is called Stuttgarter Wasen, which is in Stuttgart, which comes really close to. Well, it doesn't come really close, but it's the closest to Oktoberfest. Let's put it like that. So they are all over Germany, the Oktoberfest.
Yeah, I'll in about a month, less than a month, in 25 days, I'm flying to, 20 days, I'm flying to Stuttgart. So maybe I'll come say hi, but it's not Oktoberfest in the middle of July. Cool. Okay. I feel like that was just like the most stereotypical opener for like a German guy. It's like, so Oktoberfest, but it's something that you actually go to and enjoy, and that's great.
I do think it just speaks to kind of like the diversity on our team in the sense of just like we have folks that are just global. So I even with that aspect, I guess I'm wondering like what is evangelism, or actually even before we get there, like what exactly do you do at Twilio? Let's run it back. Who are you? So yeah, what do you do at Twilio?
Yeah. Surprise, I do developer evangelism there. I am a developer evangelist specifically for the DACH region. You might have seen it, DACH. The D stands for DW Deutschland, which means Germany in German. The A stands for Austria, which is the English word for Austria, Österreich in German. And the CH, that's even weirder. I think it's Latin because, it stands for Switzerland. I think they did they worked a lot to come up with this DACH abbreviation, but DACH is German, it means roof, and all three countries speak German. So I guess this is where it's come from, and I'm doing developer relations for Twilio specifically in that area, but every now and then I support other events, such as last week I was in Bucharest, Romania, and next week I'm in Amsterdam in the Netherlands.
And I guess I'm like even curious there with like, not saying evangelism looks different, across the seas and other geographies, but I guess given the context you might have with some of your colleagues in the States versus in your region, like what would you say are some of the priorities of a lot of the developers in those areas?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I get that often. So the first thing that comes to my mind is really like the way people think about designing software and architecture. I have the feeling, now I serve another stereotype, but I guess that's the way it is. Most engineers here are a bit more serious and stricter. So when you show them something, they really ask immediately like a follow-up question: does it work this way, and that way? And whereas in like maybe in the US or in other countries, people are more like, oh, can I build this crazy side project to prank my friends or do something like that? And in Germany, they're more like, okay, can I use this for my job? How can I actually make it work for me? And at the same time, there are a lot of like privacy questions where people ask like, okay, where do you store the data? How does it not only work in the backend, but who owns what's happening in the backend? So I think it's more like a behind the scenes mindset where people try to think how could it work, and in many ways also how could it not work, and why wouldn't it work, and are there ways to make it work? There are a lot of like these thoughts already, or thoughts happening in conversations, which is I would say rather unusual.
Yeah. Is the privacy stuff like a German thing or a GDPR or EU kind of thing?
I mean, it influences each other. I would say it's more a German thing just because of the German history with like large-scale data collection and abuse of it by the government, or like the DDR, the previous Eastern German government. I mean, we don't have to go into detail, but if someone is curious, you can look it up on Wikipedia. So there was big abuse of like data, and this is like still in the bones and on top of mind for many people. And this also reflects in legislation, which like German legislation obviously also influences European legislation. And that's how GDPR came to where it is.
Got it. And then you said you were just in Romania and you're going to Amsterdam. How does the developer culture differ across Europe? Because I mean, culture differs so vastly across Europe. But how does it feel different going to a conference in each different country?
Yes, yeah, I mean, yes, it's different from country to country, but at the same time, I would say it's also different from like the target group persona of a conference. But let's talk first about country to country and then about the other part. So what I noticed in Romania is that there were just more younger people, which always surprises me. I've had the same experience like years back when I was in Czech. So I have the feeling in Eastern Europe, more younger people are doing software. I'm not sure, because I know a lot of like young people here in Germany as well, but maybe they go less frequently to developer events. Maybe they're less interested in going there. I'm not sure what the reason is, but I'm sure I know they are in Germany. But when I compare across like all the events that happen in Germany and in Europe, I would say mostly it's older people that go there and younger people who are at these events in other countries. But now we can
answer. Cool.
To answer the second part of that, or to tell you the second part of that story, rather, I also had that experience that. For example, it depends on the kind of software conference. Yeah. So if you go to more enterprisey software events, then it's the same. Like it's more older people, it's more like more senior people that are often like not hands-on keyboard coding anymore, more people management, engineering managers. And when you go to, let's say, a JavaScript event or from a new trendy programming language, or just a generic one that's not focusing on enterprise technology, then there are more younger people there for sure. And when you go to Berlin, that's a different story anyway, because the tech scene in Berlin is so crazy big. There are always young people, and there's so many events happening every day there.
Yeah, the big C++ conference in the US happens in Denver, and just because I used to work in robotics, I know some people going, and they're like, "You should come," and I'm like, first of all, I haven't coded in C++ in a while, but like the vibe there is so much different than what you guys are seeing at like PyCons, or I don't know what they call the JS events, but like, yeah, C++ people are different. So I can imagine like each different group of people has a very different vibe. How is the food in Bucharest?
Oh, really good. A lot of like meat, as you might imagine. So I already kind of interviewed my driver from the airport to the hotel and asked him like, what is the food I need to try? And he gave me a list of things. What I found interesting is that they did not have the chance to try it, but they have their own version of pretzel in Romania.
Okay.
So it's the same shape. I think it's a different dough. I'm not sure if they put salt or maybe something else on it, but that was definitely interesting. what I did try is like a lot of sausages, and I think I was having dinner with other speakers, and they had rabbit. So it's like a lot of like different kinds of meats that I know at least you can get it here in Germany, but it's less common. I'm not sure how common rabbit is in the US.
I think it's the same thing. You can find it, but it's not a common.
It's like I don't think people are like, yes, I'm gonna have some rabbit this Saturday. You know what I mean? I've heard great things, but but like I wouldn't say that folks are just like seeking out
Some
some of
bears do.
those.
Yeah.
But hey, some people do. We welcome our rabbit. Oh gosh, that sounded horrible. I was like, we welcome rabbit. Never mind. Moving right along.
Yeah. They don't serve that at McDonald's. It's
Not at all. Okay, so I'm even curious. Like, I know we've touched all like we're going around the world, literally and figuratively. So I'm even curious. Like, I know you're talking about the different environments and cultures, but like for you, how did you even find your way into doing this kind of like work? Right, getting into evangelism. Just kind of curious. What was that journey?
That's a good question. So I think it all started when I lived in San Francisco. I know you know that, but the audience probably doesn't know that. So after my bachelor degree, I moved to San Francisco first for an internship and then for a full-time position. And I've lived there for about 2 years. And during that time, I went to a lot of meetups. I talked to other developers. That's also how I first basically interacted with Twilio back then. I think at a hackathon, maybe it was at a meetup, but it was at one of these local developer events happening in San Francisco. And I think at one of these events, I was listening to a talk by someone who had this crazy title called Developer Evangelist. And that was the first time I ever heard of this title. And I was like, okay, this is like you do talks, you travel around the world, you see many places, you talk to developers, and that's a job. That's something you can do. And so I was really amazed that Developer Evangelist was from Auth0. I know a lot of our friends work at Auth0. I think it's Gonto is the online user name of the person who did that talk. I think he's still one of the best developer evangelists, even though he has a different role now. So that was really fascinating to me. But I was just like making this remark in the back of my mind, like, okay, that's cool. But I was not planning to immediately apply to be a developer evangelist. But a couple of years later, when I was already living here in Munich, I just felt it's time for a new role. I didn't want to leave the company I was working at back then. So I was just looking in the internal portal, which roles are open. And then I thought, oh, there's a developer evangelist position open at a company where I already work. And to be honest, I was not even aware that there is this role at the company. So I applied, I got it, and since then I'm in DevRel. That was 2017 or 18? I think 18.
Because there's a few people who, like the newest person on Bianca and I's team, Sarah, came over. Oh, look at those orange lower thirds! Wow.
Yeah, nice.
Sarah came over from like another role within Twilio and joined our team. There's kind of something cool about joining in like an internal transfer into DevRel because you know the product pretty well in theory, and you know what's going on. That's a cool way to get into it. It feels like an easy way. Nice. That's so cool. Do you mind telling us what the company you were working at was? Just out of curiosity.
Sure. It's called SAP. It's large enterprise software. So
they have evangelists?
Yeah, they do. I mean, yes, they had them. They still have them. We just went a bit back and forth the naming. So when I applied for it, I was called a developer evangelist, but then we renamed ourselves to developer advocates. So I know here in our setup in DevNet, we have both, but there we only had one that had both names, basically.
Yeah. And then Robertables also mentioned being a champion or things like that. We've got, I don't know, are you like any of the club providers, because we got like Rashab, who's another developer evangelist. He'll be coming on in a few weeks, and he's like a Microsoft Azure cloud champion. He's like a Google Cloud champion. He might be an AWS one. He's got like all of them. And we just launched our champion program too. So check that out. I'm excited for that. Did you do some of those interviews, Marius?
I did a lot of interviews. So for the audience, we basically started champions program in 3 regions around the world. So North America, Latin America, and EMEA. And each region has a so-called squad lead. Rishab is the squad lead for Neymar. I'm the squad lead for EMEA. We had a lot of applications from EMEA, so I did a bunch of interviews, and I met all the great people who applied. And I'm really glad that we have so many new champions who onboarded. I mean, we invited 21 people to join the EMEA squad, which is a really large group of people. I'm super excited we have all of them on board. And if you are now interested and you think you could be a Twilio champion as well, go to the website, twilio.com. I think if you go to developers, then you find the champions section. We currently are not accepting new applications, but there is a wait list. So you can leave your information. And when we accept new invitations, which will be at the end of this year, we will notify you so you know it's happening and you will already be in the loop.
Yeah, that's such a cool program. And people ask me all the time, like at conferences, I don't know if you get this, like, are you guys hiring? And we don't really hire that much, like in our group. And like, it's not like we have any insight into how the rest of Twilio is hiring. So the things I always tell them is like, hey, look at the champions program. Cause like, if you can get into that, that's serious. And also like write blog posts and stuff like that. Cause if you can get your name out there, it's going to look really good trying to get your next job. But this champion program is so cool. I am just glad that we have that 21 people we invited from EMEA, which by the way is Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So it is a big region too. There's a lot of people there. So yeah, that's exciting. And I'm excited. I know we're planning on having some champions on our stream later this summer.
Yes. Yes. Sorry.
Yes.
No, what happened was, sorry, y'all. The ask for sage for the chat. The sage insults. So
yeah. Oh, I forgot to get my sage. Maybe at one point
I had the giggles. No, you know what happened? It gave I was trying to add the link for the wait list, but then it just had every letter known to man. So I didn't shorten it. How it has all the how did you find us piece? But yeah. Definitely thank you so much for dropping the whole champions plug. Yes, we're super excited in a few weeks. Actually, it's not even on the calendar, so they don't know this. They don't know this, but they're basically going to be on the stream. But we are super excited, I think, to just kind of share the stories of some of the champions, and even just kind of have folks even just learn more about the program and things like that. So super excited. Let's see. So I'm curious, you're building a bunch of stuff. What would you say, what do you like to build? So I know maybe in your region, folks don't like to build for fun and hobbies, but on the moments that you go against the grain, Marius, what are you building for fun? Or just what kind of demos do you like to lean into?
Yeah. So, okay, I really asked for this. No, I obviously love to build fun demos. So I always look for ways that are engaging for people that are also ideally, a fun demo is better than a boring demo, but the perfect fun demo also leads to a natural conversation about what Twilio does, how easy it is to use Twilio services. Ideally, it combines multiple services, and the users, they don't even know that they're using a service until they're done. They had fun, and then they're like, oh wait, did I just use Twilio? This is really the perfect demo, I would say.
Yeah, I like the language that you use around a demo in and of itself becomes conversational. And I think last week we were talking about the magic aspect of kind of demos. So I do love this other perspective around in essence, there is this are we starting a conversation? Are you developing curiosity here? So I like that kind of reminder of like the demo as a tool for X, Y, or Z. So kind of like that.
Yeah. Me too. I always try to like, sometimes my demos are a little selfish. It's like there's something that I want to build. So I'm like, I'm going to do a demo of that. But yeah, I like that idea of like the conversation. And yeah, did you do a demo at the event in Bucharest? Did you do any sort of activations?
Not directly. I was having a couple of conversations about Twilio. The talk that I did there was it was less coding focused. So I was like reviewing new AI developer tools. So not AI that developers bake in their software, so the users have AI, but it's really tools that help developers to be more efficient. And I found a couple of nice tools that I basically explored for the last few months. And my talk was summarizing how they work, like TLDR, like a lot of AI tools, they work, or the developers use them iteratively. So they say, give me a solution or UI that does that. And then it's like a 50% solution. It's not perfect, but you don't have to start from a blank page, from an empty paper. You don't like sit around starting to distract yourself. You can really be productive. Whereas on the other side, and that's also what I mentioned in the talk, there's what we do with Twilio AI assistants, right? With the autonomous agents that you specifically like give a given task and say, be able to help the customer with these 5 different scenarios. And whenever the customer wants to talk to a human, refer them to that person, and don't talk, for example, about our competitors. Yeah. And this is like, to me, the next generation of interactive voice response. So you're not really bound to this really strict guardrails of listening to the announcement, pressing like 5 if you want to talk to support, and then listening to another announcement. You can just basically fulfill the same use cases, but in a natural conversation. So I think autonomous agents are great, but they restrict creativity. And I think for software development, we need to use AI in a different approach. And this is basically what my talk was about, to say there are autonomous agents, they restrict creativity. Here are some tools that allow you to be creative.
Nice. What were some of the tools that you talked about?
Oh, I mean, I don't want to do advertisement, but I think it's okay. We don't get money.
Yeah. So I'm curious for me.
Yeah. Okay. I compared V0 from Vercel. So it's like, you probably use DALL-E with add a prompt and then get an image back.
Yeah.
V0 does the same for user interfaces. You can say,
oh, cool.
Give me a cryptocurrency conversion page to have like select or drop down boxes, and then you can enter an amount. You actually don't, it's enough if you just say, give me a cryptocurrency conversion page. You give it there, and then a UI comes back that uses React, and you can copy and paste it in your code. There's another one called magic patterns. It's basically the same idea. It has a similar mechanism. There is rendition create or use Galileo.ai, and both of them, you give them a prompt and they give you a design file. So you can also export it as code, but you can also export it as a Figma file too. Basically, your designers could use that to get started. And I think this is really powerful stuff.
So you were mostly looking at like front-end tools to build this stuff?
There is also
tools.
The talk started in that area, but then I went a little bit beyond, and another one is called Marbleism. You can check that out. That was also really fascinating. So you start with a single prompt, but then in the next step, it generates user stories based on your prompt. And then you can modify the user stories, you can add new user stories. In the step after that, it generates an entire data model. So it shows you, these are the entities I would create, this is how the relations in which they stand, and each entity has these properties of these data types. And again, you can provide feedback, you can make suggestions, and then if you go to the next step, it tells you all the pages it would create. So like all the web applications, they have a sign up, a registration page. I told it generate an email client, and then it basically did it did all the folder structure. It gave me a UI to send the email, to see all my email in my inbox, to mark them as important, to put them into folders, and all of that was generated. So not just the UI, but also the data model and the business logic.
It's so cool, and I appreciate that you're looking at because there's so much more to software development than just like writing the code itself. And we've talked, I feel like there's been so much coverage of like GitHub Copilot and all these things that like write the code for you, but you kind of took a different look at it and you're like, hey, there's so much more to the life cycle of software development, of building an app. And it's, you know, everything from the front end to the user stories to how you interact with the pages and all the different stuff you need. And looking at the AI tools to do that, that's super cool. It's just a different thing that I hadn't even thought about. And I'm glad I know about, because the next time I need to build something, I'm just going to ask you what to use to build it.
Yeah, sure. These tools are really fascinating. And exactly, I know you didn't listen to my talk, but you perfectly summarized the second part of my talk, where I said, okay, now what does it mean for us developers? What are the skills we definitely need in the future? And I said what you said. So like, it's not just about developing software. It actually has never been about developing software. It has always been about solving the problems and needs of people. So I think software developers will get even closer to their end users and their customers to understand their needs better, and then to build even better solutions in less time.
Yeah.
With smaller teams, possibly. Yeah.
That's so, I love even that framing. And I do think even as we're thinking about like the ways, like, who the technology is impacting, right? Like, I do think thinking more problem, like, hey, what is the problem that I'm solving for? I do think we'll start to see kind of, you know, more folks leaning into that. And I do feel like if you're anyone who's building something, having a lens towards like, how am I thinking about this solution, rather than just like, all right, I've accomplished this technical thing. And I think that's what's, I feel like we're even seeing that within AI. And I hate using AI as like the umbrella term. AI just covers everything. But just
like you call it, I mean, Gen AI is a good one to put it.
Yeah, generative. Yeah, generative AI. So I think that has actually started to push folks to really think holistically around like, what problem is the person solving? Because you can have all the swanky tech, right? And you could have all the amazing things that these tools are doing, but it's like, what are we solving for? And I think at the end of the day, that's what consumers, that's what folks who are using your products, you know, like that's what they're looking for. So I like that. But it's oh, were you gonna say?
Your shirt, sorry, I think Bianca's happens to be wearing a specific shirt that says, I think on the back it says LLM LG to me, like LLM looks good to me. I feel like, I don't know, Emily might be able to tell us who came up with that one, but like, I love that line because it's so glibly encompasses like, oh yeah, throw an LLM on it.
Yeah.
No, that's real.
That was a Craig special. Got it. Yeah. Revertibles. Another LG2M looks good. Try merging. Yep, that's another way you can do it. Yeah.
Always. Okay, so even as you're talking about like doing all these talks, I know this might be like a side combo, but like, it's interesting because Alex these days, like as a developer evangelist, he's been having to do a lot of stuff on camera, right? Like, you know, the code to camera ratio has probably evolved, but I guess I'm seeing that you do a lot of talks. Like, was that a thing that you had your eye on, or did you just kind of fall into, you know, just kind of doing more talks? Do you feel like that was an effective tool for you? I'm just kind of curious, like that, the writing more talks, or what you've learned along the way, even on that.
That's a good question, and that's one of the things I find so fascinating about the role of being a developer evangelist, that there is no, I mean, there are so many different tasks and everyone can put their focus on like either like a very strict focus on only one task. Some people say, I only do talks, and they're on the road like every week in the summer. Other people, they don't like to be on like a physical stage. Maybe like they do webinars like we do. Maybe they don't want to be on camera at all. Maybe then they can do podcasts. Maybe they do live demos. So there's so many ways that you can create content to be close to developers. And I think doing talks just sounded reasonable to me. Like actually one of my main motivations to start doing developer evangelism was that I wanted to improve soft skills such as public speaking, to structure presentations. I mean, I would say it has some storytelling aspect. It's not like this keynote like storytelling. It's still very technical, or at least my talks are very technical. So there's a story part or aspect to it, but it's mostly, this is a demo, this is what we are going to learn. It's not a pure story, but I really like that mix, and I like to be able to maybe push people or nudge people into one direction, because I think most talks at developer conferences, they're on a like beginner or advanced level. I know there are other talks, but I would say most are really on this beginner level, because the people in the audience, they come from so many different like industries. They use a different technology stack. So most people, I would say from my impression, go there because they just want to hear what's new, what is new technology, what changed in the last 2 years. So they just want to like stay up to date. And it doesn't have to be a super advanced topic. They just want to see what is happening. And if you do a great job, then they will do the research at home. Then they will try to find more advanced use cases. And this is how I see my job. So to find cool technology, maybe that are trending, that I think will be trending, and then make people aware of that and show them how they can use it, and that it is already ready to use today, and they don't have to wait another year or so.
I love that framing, because it makes, like, this is something that I think about a lot in the webinars I do too, because storytelling is a part of it. But you're right, it's not about giving them all the answers. It's about sparking enough inspiration that they're going to go find the answers on their own, because the way people are doing stuff is a little different. Every use case is a little different, and every company is a little different. Like when I'm working with startups. And I love that framing of like, yeah, you just need to like get them that first step or two, so they know what they're actually going to go look for, and they get inspired and they get excited about it. You don't need to tell them all the answers and how to do everything. Like they'll figure that out on their own. Yeah, I like that framing of it. Yeah. Should we see this demo? We Bianca and I got a preview, and it looks very cool.
It's very cool.
Okay. Yeah,
and you can tell us how you built it, if you use any of the AI tools as well.
Yes. So maybe we start with, what is the 5-minute demo? We start from all the way back, and then we get to the demo, because
Let's do it.
What is a 5-minute demo? So this is like a Twilio tradition that has been around for I don't know how many years, way before I joined the company. So
since the dawn of Twilio.
Exactly. And I'm sure someone will drop a link to the first documented 5-minute demo in the chat now. I think it happened in New York, right?
What?
It happened in New York, right?
Maybe. Oh, I remember watching that video. It was like it was also one of the first times someone did live coding on a stage, and everyone got a text in the crowd, and people freaked out. But
Fax machine?
No, that was a later one. It was a super simple, like, hey, send me a text, I'll send it back to you. Demo. Brent might be able to tell us. I think like in the earlier days of Twilio, it was the kind of thing where like you had to have your 5-minute demo down to exactly 5 minutes. And I noticed this because when we were all in San Francisco a few weeks ago, and Dom, who's like one of the OG, he was OG DevNet person, and he's working on all the like cool AI stuff at Twilio now. He had a demo, and he's like, it's at 5 minutes and 45 seconds. I got to cut it. And I was like, sounds like about 5 minutes to me. And so like, I feel like we're like, now it's like the 5 to 10 minute demo. But yeah, it used to be like very strictly like you needed to be 5 minutes on the dot, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's been around forever.
Yeah. And I mean, you probably also remember we did this 5-minute demo jam. I think that's how we called it a couple of weeks back, where we said the traditional 5-minute demo still works great, but let's try to be a bit creative. It's a couple of years old. Can we do it newer? Can we use other products? Can we use other technology for it? And then I think we had 1 week to start to work on it, to come up with a new idea. And we, as you said, like it wasn't strict about 5 minutes. It was, I think, 5 to 10 minutes. We didn't have to start from scratch, so we could have some pre-started project. And then that's how I started with this idea, because what I really love about the original 5-minute demo is that you can show it on stage, everyone understands what's happening, there is an audience participation part in it, and you give out free stuff. So everyone, and then you have this aha moment when someone's phone is actually ringing. So I tried to convert that into a different setting, and I combined it with something I saw at an event in Amsterdam and actually in Barcelona the same week. So there people had, like, at their booth, Wheel of Fortune. I think in Barcelona, it was a physical Wheel of Fortune where you could just say, hey, you get a t-shirt now. And people who visited the booth could spin it. And in Amsterdam, they had a virtual one where they had this large LED screen with like a really nice Vegas-like 3D animation of a wheel that is spinning. And there was a huge line. People could walk up to an iPad, drop their contact information, click spin, and then they saw it on the display spinning, and then they won a prize. And I was wondering, like, can we do this the Twilio way? And I came up with something in that week for a 5-minute demo, and actually the feedback I got was so great that people encouraged me to bring it to the next level. And this is basically what I built now, and I think I'm still sharing the screen. So here you see it. This is an early prototype, but everything that's supposed to work already works.
By the way, shout out to those animations. And I love that we had that little code confetti is what we're calling it, move across. And now we got more code confetti on the screen. This is just, the branding is happening.
It'll come back. I think what was, even with this demo, I think what's interesting is that we're having to get creative with, like, how are you telling a story? So I do love how this brings pieces of, like, stuff that you're used to in the physical, but also, you know, bringing it live, interactive, and anywhere. So yeah, when I saw this, I was just like, so cool. So yeah, super excited.
Marius, will it work? Can we explain what it does, and then can we have people use it?
Yes, absolutely. So what it does, the QR code still is a bit too small. I can zoom in here so it's larger on your screen.
Yes.
It will be larger in the next version. So let me also get my phone to scan it. When you scan the code, and you have WhatsApp installed on your phone, so that's a requirement, you can just send the first message and start the flow. The bot will then ask you for your email. So by that point, you're already using the Twilio WhatsApp API, because you're using WhatsApp to talk to a bot. It will ask for your email, and then you can enter your email address. In that address, you can use your pre-mail or business email address. And then when you send a message, we will send a verification code to that address. And that is using Twilio Verify. And you all know verification codes. Usually you receive them via SMS, just like the 6-digit codes that you usually have to receive and add to an app I don't want to do the Chrome update now, that you usually receive when you download a new application. And then when you enter this verification code in the WhatsApp bot, it asks you some demographic information. From which country are you? You can skip that part for now. And then you are ready to play. I already did that. So basically, if I send a text message that just says Paris to this bot, it will see it moved that chip over here. Right now it says Marius.
I'm just going to put them from the UK.
This is a great example, by the way, if anyone goes through this, of why WhatsApp can be so much richer than like a richer experience than SMS. Like there's all these drop downs, there's all these, like the template. This is like the content API. It's just like so good with WhatsApp. Yes. I love it.
So
yeah. And also, oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. Even the aspect of like how you're selecting kind of you can't see that. I don't know why I even bothered. Even just like how you're able to select, I feel like the user interfaces too look very sleek. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. What am I doing it on?
I got my bet on. We'll give a few moments and see things. What was funny about this chat is, Marius, I must have used your account or your number to do some sort of a Twilio Startup Labs thing with a German area code. I don't know why, but this number already had a bunch of stuff in it with me chatting with one of my demos from 2020, so almost a year ago.
Nice. Yeah. I reused the number, so probably some people, it's funny, so we have this other activation that's called Twilio Barista. And sometimes I can tell when people are like, oh, you have a previous conversation. Oh, a year ago, you've already been to a Twilio event. So this is also always interesting to see.
Yeah.
Another thing.
I remember what it was. In October of 2022, so that's almost 2 years ago, actually, there was didn't we do a Twilio Startup Labs were you there? I think Frank did it in Berlin.
I think it was here in Munich. It was Bits and Pretzels,
was it Munich?
I think it was Bits and Pretzels.
Bits and Pretzels,
After that, I went to Oktoberfest with Frank.
Oh, nice. So Frank's Bianca and I's third team member, who's based in London. And that was because that was in October and I had joined that May. So this was one of the first times I built something that was used in an event, which is super fun. But yeah.
Okay, so I put in mine.
And you got some bets. Should we run this?
All right. Let's see who's the winner.
Before we run it, all the data is stored in Twilio Sync as well. That's why also let me actually change my bet again from Paris to, well, I guess I have to do Munich. We talked so much about it. I just sent a message now, and within seconds it moved to chip. So this is really the real-time interactivity that you can have with Twilio Sync, and you don't have to worry about who comes first. It's basically like your data layer.
That's cool.
So you could switch it. So I could switch it from if I want.
This is like real Vegas. You can switch until they start rolling the ball on the roulette wheel.
I mean, actually, I built that in. So if I click that button now, I think it spins for about 2 seconds. And if you try to switch it, it will tell you, sorry, it's too late.
Okay, let me try. Let me try to switch it now. Did you already do it?
No, I count to 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I'm gonna do it now.
Okay, it was measured and all the chips.
Yeah, it was said. I'm gonna cry, y'all. My original
I just switched to Madrid.
No, my original one was Madrid, and then I switched to Paris for the sake of trying to.
Either way, Marius, we did a little short with Marius, and he was describing this demo, and you said, "Yeah, people either win or they just participate." Yes. And I thought that version of you either win or you lose was great. It's you either win or you just participated. I love that phrase.
That's fun.
It's a thoughtful way of saying.
This is super cool, and the whole idea is that people are interacting with it via text or via WhatsApp, I guess, which is just a whole new way of doing things, and people don't realize that they can do all these cool interactions live. And then they get to play with Twilio stuff. So in your 5-minute demo, are you showing some of the how this all works, or what's that 5-minute demo look like?
I can show you some of the code right now if you want.
Yeah, I would love to see some of the code anyways. I'm just curious what the 5-minute demo looks like too.
Well, it has only been a few weeks, but let me think. What did I do in the 5-minute demo? I think I didn't have this wheel, but a different React component that was a Ferris wheel that I just found on NPM. And I already had the web application with the empty page. And then I said, let me just add this NPM dependency. I add the wheel. These are my fields. So I think I also had cities back then. And then I built all the Twilio part around it. Without sync. I think sync was already there, but I had the part where I receive messages, where it basically adds something to the data model. So you see some chips, but the chips back then were just circles. And then basically when it's done spinning, it filters on the list of bets and finds out who had the right bet. That person got a phone call and the rest got text messages. So what I built live was, receiving the inbound messages, handling the inbound messages, making the phone call, and sending out text messages, or WhatsApp messages in this case.
Yeah. Oh, so if one of us won, we would have gotten a message from WhatsApp.
I think you got a message saying you did not win. If you had won, you would have gotten a call. But
you're right. Sorry, Alex, you
call
lost. Come on. So you're in the video. You said participate. You could have said, "Sorry, Alex, you just participated."
Maybe I change. We can change it if you want.
But thanks for no, it's okay. Yeah, I'd love to see some of the code behind this and like kind of like what you did to build this. And just can give you a heads up, that code's a little small, so you might want to make the size a little bit bigger.
So, and this is a Next.js project.
Do you mostly code in JavaScript?
Yes, yeah. The first programming language I learned in school was Java, and then Java continued in my bachelor program, and since then I never touched it again. So I guess I was able to read it at one point in the past, but I'm happy with JavaScript, and there are so many great frameworks around it. I wouldn't like do super high performance stuff with it. I obviously wouldn't build a database management system or something, but for simple web applications like that one, I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I know. And I wish when I was like, didn't know what was happening, I was like, oh yeah, I've coded in Java before. I should be able to do JavaScript. Unrelated. It's very sad to find that out.
Yeah.
But
now it's the other way around. When I look at Java, like I think I learned about this like over 10 years ago, but I don't I don't know anything.
Yeah, I don't even try. I guess I could in theory do some C++ stuff, but even like in the robotics world, it's people use Python enough that I don't need to use C++ anymore. Anyways, sweet. Let's dive in.
Yeah.
I have theme music too. So
Great.
Bianca,
awesome.
She's the jukebox.
Which part would you like to see first?
I would like to see, what about like sending and receiving WhatsApp messages? I mean, that's a great place to start for Twilio stuff, right?
Okay, perfect. Then we're already in the right file. So you see this is a Next.js project where you have what they call file-based routing. So depending on the folder structure, you can define what happens. So if I say I want to listen to any incoming request that goes to /API/incoming, I just need to create a folder that is called /API/incoming or two folders. And in there, I have a route.ts TypeScript file. And basically, whenever a request comes in, this file is executed here. And in this case, it only exports one function that's called post. So you can guess it whenever a post request comes in, this function is invoked. And then we can quickly go through the code, and when you have questions, just interrupt me and then we can talk about it. So in the beginning, I say actually pass all the form data that comes with the request so I can access it. I initialize the Twilio client, and with that client, I connect to the sync service, which is also stored in the environment variables here. And based on from that sync service, access to one document and one map. The map contains the attendee information, so all the participants that interact with this demo, and the bets is the bets like the chips you saw on the screen.
Yeah.
And down here, I basically parse the who's sending the data, who's basically I do the same thing again. Who is the sender, and I hash it because later I only, for some purposes, I only store the hashed version of the sender. Also the name, you probably noticed that in the first message it said, hi Alex, hi Bianca. That is the WhatsApp profile name that you have, and basically the WhatsApp Business API sends this profile name along with every message. That's how I knew that. And then
I didn't realize it did that. That's so cool.
And then the body, the content of that message. And then I use the I18N library here because I got all the responses in German. You probably got all of them in English. And I did that based on the country code. So I have a +49 phone number. If it was a +43, I think, is Austria, it would have also been in German. And for all other languages or all other area codes, the fallback language would be English as well.
Yeah. I just want to step back about something. I feel like in the US, we don't even realize there are country codes because it's just like +1.
Yeah.
But like,
Man,
yeah, you start to travel. And
I had to learn it a ton with like, family in the Caribbean. Yeah, you'd still do your +1 and then the other kind of country code. I think what I even like about a lot of this, like, even just like these tiny things within WhatsApp, right? Like being able to just, like that seamless user experience, like even that aspect around, if you're texting me from this different country, like maybe let me give it to you in a more personalized way. And I think it's actually cool to do this via WhatsApp, especially since like, it can be easy when you're dealing with like international audiences, right? Like different consumers, folks can kind of be like, just read this in English, good luck. So I do think giving folks the ability to kind of participate in a way that feels authentic or relevant for them, like that to me is just like huge,
Yeah. And you can do that with normal numbers too, because you can just pull
totally
the country code. But the name part I hadn't seen before. That's pretty neat.
Cool. Yeah, so here then what I do in this section, I use the attendee map. So maps a key to a value. The value are more attendee information, and the key is the hashed, so the anonymized version of the phone number if you want. So in the first step, I check, is the person who texts in already in our system? Is the hashed version of the phone number in this map? And if it is, I store that information in current user. And current user has a property called stage. And stage is basically, do I see that person for the first time? Did that person give me the email address, but not yet verify? Is the email of that person verified? So all the steps you went through in the beginning. And this is basically, we can collapse that. This is what happens in that part here. So
I feel like this is going to win an award for the most Twilio products used. You're using so many different things in this. You're using like verify for the email. You're using sync for the backend. You're using the WhatsApp API for messaging. Like,
and I hope I did it in a fun way so that people have fun. And then while they do it, they're like, oh, did I actually use Twilio products? So, this is what I'm aiming for, to do it at events, to have a conversation starter. And then I'm really excited to see where it's going. I'm planning to use it. So this is a exclusive preview here. I think we didn't say that yet, but the first official demo will happen in 4 weeks in Nuremberg.
Wow. You heard it here first. I love this for us. Is this the first for the stream? Well, actually, no, I feel like last week's
same thing.
Yeah. Last week was the same thing. Like it was like a first look. So, I mean, maybe this could be a thing. Like come here with your demos first. And maybe that's like a thing. So whether you're a Twilion or not, come here. We'll run through these demos. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, last week we had Anthony on to do his magic trick, which was awesome. And then didn't realize like a few days later he did that demo at a company all hands for everybody. So that was super cool.
In the first look.
Sweet.
I like it. All right, back to you, Marius.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So here, it's all basically a series of if-else statements, which probably could be nicer code to read, but it works. So if there is no current user, I create that user. And here you see a few nice properties that Sync offers. So in the data part, we store the name, the sender, so that's basically the phone number of the user who sent the message, and the stage where we say this is stage new user. But we also store the key and TTL, which stands for time to live. And here we say this document should live for 1 week because like privacy is important to us. There has been this privacy note on the Wheel of Fortune page that you've seen before, and there has been some information in the email that you got when you received the verification code. And we're basically not interested in storing your information longer than we need it. So here we said, if that user doesn't interact with us for a week, just remove the data. We could have set it to a day, but a few developer events, they go over 2 days, sometimes it's 3 days. And I just had a feeling 1 week it's definitely not too long, but it's also not too close, too short that if someone comes back like from the first to the last day, that they have to re-sign up again. So that's set to 1 week. And then we not only store this user in our sync map, but also reply with the welcome message that is customized. It contains a sender message, and it basically uses this I18N internationalization library. And if I go over here to the English file, you see the welcome translation says, welcome to the game, sender name, so Marius in this case. Please reply with your business email address, and we will send you an email to verify your address is correct. So this is basically that part of the I18N that we do here. And that's all that happens in the first step. And then if the user already did that step and sends another message with the email address, we check, is this actually a valid email address? And if it's not, we say, hey, this doesn't seem to be an email address. It's not saying at twilio.com or at gmail.com. And if it is a valid email address, this is where we call our Twilio verify service to actually initiate that email. We update the attendee map to say actually that user is in stage verifying now. And then we inform the user, hey, you just received an email. That's basically that part, some error handling down here. If the user is past that step and enters a 6-digit code, we basically check, is it a 6-digit code? Or maybe the user said, sorry, I had a typo in my email or something. So then we say, it's not worth checking it if it's not a 6-digit code. And if it's not a 6-digit code, but instead it is a, let me go down here. It is an email address. We basically resend another code to the new email address. So basically the user can jump back here if they have a typo, because, I mean, as you know, now you can edit WhatsApp messages, but that's not reflected in the API. So it's just easier to send a new message with a new email address to go back to the previous step, or you execute that if you enter the right 6-digit code and the verification is approved, which means it's the right code. Then we again update the user object to say now the user is in stage asking for country, and we basically send a message to ask the user in which country they're from, which then sends, I think it was a WhatsApp message that was using quick reply buttons. So you had a message with 3 different buttons below it.
Yeah. Did you know how to use, did you know how to do all these different components? Like, did you know how to use sync? Did you know how to use the kind of rich content WhatsApp API? And did you know how to use verify before you started working on this 5-minute demo? Or did you learn some of these for this demo?
Both. So I used it before. I built things with it before, but it's like, I mean, you know it, I'm sure, like you call a function and then you don't use that function, or you don't use that part of our library for like, I don't know, a week or 2, and you forgot it. So you go back, and that's what I love about our docs. It's so easy to find something in the docs. It's like easily to find on Google. So I usually ask Google, even though I've been on that page of our docs like 100 times, I just ask Google, hey, how to store, for example, how to update a sync map item with Twilio sync, and then it's there.
It's ironic that you asked Google when you just became the #1 contributor to Twilio's, Stack Overflow.
Yeah.
So you also, like most of the time when people ask Google, you're the one answering at this point. And you still ask
That's also true. Yeah. I mean, I hope it happened to you before, because, I mean, it really happened to me that I was looking for a problem. I ended up on a Stack Overflow question where I either asked the question or submitted the answer. Both happened before. It's like, okay, this is ironic, but this is how our brain works. You forget stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Chef Brent says, I've definitely answered my own questions before.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to.
Yeah. Do you know this Obama meme with the medal, where he gives the medal to himself? That's always what I have to think of when I end up in one of these situations. Like, good job, Marius. You've done it again.
I love the sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the rest of the code is pretty straightforward. Here we do the same thing. If the user is in a stage asking for country, we add the country to the user object here and update the stage. And all the way down here, when the user is verified and we get a new message, then we basically see are the bets currently blocked, which means is this wheel spinning? If it's not spinning, we identify basically on which wedge. We can talk about the word wedge in a second, but on which wedge did the user bet? And then we add a new object to this bets sync document. So the attendees are in a sync map and the bets are stored as a document. So basically also here we use the hash sender as the person who places the bet. And when you just send another message, so you switch from Madrid to Paris, in the case of Bianca, this will automatically overwrite your old bet because it's still using the same sender.
Yeah, and you have to I don't know what the term is, but unhash, because so you're storing a hash version of the sender, like a hash version of my phone number in the sync database, but then you have to get that back to actually send the message, right?
Yes. So there are two parts. So this is a really good question. So when I built this, I was not sure, let's go over here, if I make this page publicly accessible. So for now, I have a basic auth in front of it, so other people cannot randomly start spinning the wheel. But I was thinking to maybe get public, so without basically blocking the spinning the wheel function, so that you can see who placed which bet. Because when you, let me actually quickly do it again, so you see it with my bet.
Too.
So I dropped one on Munich, and if I hover it here, it says Marius bets on Munich. But it's only my name. There's no phone number, because basically everything that is in the bets document is available on that website. And I didn't want to expose anyone's phone number on that website. I think the name is fine because the name could be anyone. You can change your WhatsApp profile name. It doesn't say anything. So here it says B bets on Berlin. So that's why I did not want to store phone numbers in this part. So later when I send the messages, we will see that. I see who is the hash sender, and then I can go to my sync map, drop the hash sender in here, and then in the data here, I get the real phone number. So I'm not really unhashing it, but I'm getting...
So you're in the sync map itself has its normal thing along with the hash sender, but in your application, you're never storing the hash sender, just so your JavaScript never exposes anything.
Exactly, yeah.
That makes sense. Cool. I noticed I tried something. I tried to trick your app and it didn't work. I tried to, instead of saying Vienna, I tried to say Wien, and it did not like that.
Yeah, this is due to that part up here where I basically iterate over all wedges. It's a weird name because when I hear wedge, I have to think of like the potato fries like thing that you can eat.
Slice of a cake or pie.
Yeah, but I was having this conversation with Matthew, and because I think in the beginning I called it fields, and I was not happy with fields, and I came up with a different word. And then Matthew was also wondering, how would you call that? And he suggested wedges, and well, now it's called wedges.
Oh, yeah, it's the different thing, yeah. Nice.
So yeah, that's what happens here, and then it updates the documents and tells the user we accepted your bet, and that's the end of this file.
This is interesting, and I'm looking at this, and it's like there's a lot of logic to remember like what state someone's in and where that is. And I've always kind of gotten lazy and just done that in Studio. Did you have any thought about using Studio, or were you at the point where like because you had this whole back end, you were going to do it, you were going to manage state on your own?
Yeah, good question. I was thinking about it because I 100% agree. Like state management is getting really hard really soon. So I think this is still manageable, but like let's say we ask for 10 more questions, then it would be a pain, especially if the user would need the option to go back, and maybe they can, if they answer question A like this, they can skip question B and C, but then they end up with question D. So it can get really, really complicated. You're 100% right. So Studio would be perfect for that. in this case here, I have so many code parts where I update sync items, and I think there is no, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think there is a widget in Studio to modify objects in sync. That's why I had to write code here.
I think there is a widget. I wonder if anyone's built, and maybe we'll have to go check this out. I wonder if anyone's done it with, what should I call it? With functions, yeah.
Yeah. So this entire thing.
I also feel like the questions you're asking at the onset, like more than likely, you're not going to go back to restate your name, like, but you might go back and forth to switch like your bet, or I keep on thinking about the wedge, the wedge now.
Wedge.
The wedge. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, like the tool usage. Have you played around with like what else it could look like? So in the sense of, I don't know, say a business, right? Like I'm thinking a fundraising gala or something like that. Like say if you were to kind of see this out in the world, what would you add to it? Like what other functionalities would you want to incorporate?
Do you mean where the technology that I used could be used for, or how the wheel of
just this setup? How would you just expand upon it? So like the same way that you took it to the next level this first time, like what does it look like for you to take it to another level?
Good question. Well, I don't know yet. I think maybe it would be a fun way to do it, to make it more self-service like, because now you need me to host the screen, and then you can add bets, and then you need to wait for me to actually spin it, because based on that at conferences we can give out prizes. I think in other situations, maybe why not make it so that everyone can go to a website, say, hey, I want to start a new game, I want to send a link to my friends, and maybe customize it a bit so that they can use it for their own events, that it's reusable, maybe multi-tenant.
Yeah. Sorry, this is a random thought. I'm just remembering, but so we last year we did the AI startup Searchlight, and we're relaunching that next month, so stay tuned. But we got all these demo videos, and one of them was for a company that was making. They basically, their whole business was making this, but like for other people to use. So like you could, if you were a company, you could come to them and they would make you like a wheel spinning game that would win you something if people participated. But their demo was just like so wild. It was like jump cuts everywhere. It was the most exciting demo video I maybe have ever seen. But yeah, I mean, it was basically this, but that was their whole business. So it's fun.
Business model. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, now you know, Marius. I mean, don't leave us yet. Don't, still have space for you here.
So I know this is a hard cut, but it just reminded me of something, that it's the second time someone suggests that I should start, like as a joke, suggests that I should start a business based on a demo that I built with Twilio. It's
what was the other one?
Twilio wedding gallery photo. I hope I end up at my own blog post. Nice. So this is something, I was a best man at a wedding, and you go to a wedding and they have sometimes a shared Dropbox where everyone is supposed to download the app, create an account, drop the pictures they took, and then no one ever looks at them. So what I built here is, and it's all basically just this blog post, and it's also open source, that you scan a QR code and then it starts a conversation with a WhatsApp bot. And then you can just send images on WhatsApp to that bot, and they will all end up in a gallery. So it's basically, you don't have to download Dropbox or Box or any
That's cool.
file sharing app. You just send it on WhatsApp. Everyone, at least in Europe, already uses WhatsApp anyway. Even like people older than my parents, they use WhatsApp and they know how to send pictures. So you don't have this like learning curve. You just say, download the code, send a picture there, and then you see all the pictures of everyone who sent it to the group.
Yeah.
And I use that for
realizing my friends are like a little elitist because we all use just iCloud photo shares, which only work half the time and only work if you have an iPhone. But this would be so much easier.
I will say with the iCloud, it's just like after a while, I'm just like, so and so added a photo to this gallery. I'm like, it's 2 years later.
Wrong. Like, it's the wrong gallery here.
Wrong. Yeah. This was not the gallery you wanted to throw this in. But I really love this one because after every event, my mom is like in a rush to like send all her photos to her friends. And she's like, where are my photos? Where are my photos? And I was like, Mom, like, so I feel like if I could add it in real time to like the group album, like, and I think especially using WhatsApp, like so much, even though my mom is in the States, she will call me on WhatsApp. I don't get it, but I just go with it. I think it's just like her default. She forgot. I was like, Mom, call me on our real phone numbers.
She probably set, because you can like choose what the default is. I bet she chose on her phone the default. I bet you could fix that on her phone next time you see her. I
think also just like because she lives in WhatsApp. Like, I will say today there was a little WhatsApp drama because my brother sent me an image first, but then I saw WhatsApp tells on you because it's like forwarded image. And I was like, wow, Mom, you couldn't even send me an original image. You forwarded it from my brother. I was like, wow, do I tell her about this? Do I tell her like, wow, Mom, you couldn't even get me one of those like gifts just on your own? I was like, wow. It hurt. But yeah, WhatsApp is really cool. And I think for me, it's just like keeps me connected to a lot of like a lot of my international folks. So I'm always excited to see just like things that are being built with WhatsApp. So yeah, it's I like this one, especially since there's all the photos.
Yeah, so this was my second Twilio-powered business idea. I give it out there to anyone who watches the stream. If you want to make a business out of it, it's out there, open source. Also, the Wheel of Fortune is not yet open source, but eventually will be open source. So
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
Oh, maybe we should start like a Twilio incubator. Like that would be cool. You know, we used to.
Isn't our job so much fun that we just get to build things that like other people would in theory like maybe do for a job? And we're just like, we're going to do this for fun. Here you go. We're all
Absolutely.
It's great.
That is true. You do it for the joy of your heart.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. Sorry. Rolls dropped a great Mom used to call me on the cell phone. A little hotline bling there. But that, I was going to ask if you're an open source. I might have to pick your brain because I have a trivia activation, and right now it works in Airtable, which is fine. But like if it got like Airtable has pretty low API limits, and so I really want to move it over to Sync and get it all in Twilio stuff. But it's built in Studio right now, and I don't want to move it out of Studio because that requires work.
Yeah, I'm sure we could ping me and then we can work on that. I have an idea because in the end, you probably have like a studio flow that does everything, and then you have a function widget that stores it to Airtable, right?
Yeah. So you could, in theory, make that function widget look at the sync instead. Yeah. And I even built it because I didn't want to make too many calls. I even built it so that all of the questions for trivia, even though they're in Airtable, are stored locally as assets in the function. And I basically store the state, like I need to know what question somebody was asked. And instead of going and like posting it to Airtable and getting it back, I basically store it locally and store a copy of that in Airtable, so that in theory they're the same. And then, if a user comes back, I can pull it from Airtable, or if they're playing the game in rapid succession, it's just stored locally.
Awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, I have a feeling we could make this work.
Let's
like that could be
another stream. I know.
Yeah.
Actually write some code.
From studio to sync. Yeah.
I still want it to be in Studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess.
Play around with
it. I feel like Studio and Airtable are your friends.
Studio and Airtable are my friends because I want to write as little code as possible, which is me being lazy. But what do they say? The lazy coders are the best coders. That
Okay,
doesn't
so
apply to me. I'm a
everyone's
lazy
giving
coder.
themselves. I was like, everyone's giving themselves the medals today. We're just gonna. Is there a medal out of our code confetti? We'll try that. That's another.
Just yeah, it can be 2 brackets with a little asterisk in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I want to totally change subjects. Hard turn. Because you said something in your short, which everyone should go watch, but you said something in your short. You said you like to ski and snowboard. Do you do both?
I do both. Yeah,
There's not a lot of us.
Yes, I started skiing when, honestly, I don't remember. My parents usually, when they say, "Oh, when you started skiing," they don't say the age. They tell me my body height. So I was small. I was really tiny. So I started early on skiing. But then when I was a teenager, I just started to be uncool. I want to be cool. So what do? You start snowboarding. So I started snowboarding. Then I did it for a few years. Then I forgot about it because also I was living in the US. So I know there are places you can ski in the US, but it just wasn't a priority for me. And then I moved back to Munich. And after a few years here, I said, let's actually, the mountains are so close, let's actually go there in winter. And then I had to make the decision. Do I want to continue to snowboard or do I want to ski? And actually quite a few of my friends were in the same place and they went back to skiing, and now I'm also back to skiing, but I still have all my equipment. So depending on if it's a longer trip, I usually take both of me, snowboard and skis, and then I decide based on the slopes, like if they're easier for skiers or snowboarders.
That's like the same. That's my story. I learned when I was maybe 3 how to snowboard or how to ski. And then when I was a teenager, I'm like, it's cooler to snowboard, learn snowboarding, stop skiing for years. And then when my family moved up to the mountains, I went back to skiing, and now it's totally condition dependent. If there's a lot of snow, it's so much fun to strap on a snowboard. But if there's not, skiing's a little bit more friendly. But yeah, you gotta get out to Colorado, man. Just like,
it's basically
not
the
a
same
long drive
story.
that way. What?
I said you basically have the same story as I have.
Yeah, exactly the same. Yeah, just not a long drive west of me, and we can get to some pretty good skiing or snowboarding or whatever. I haven't been in Europe though.
Nice.
At one point, I'll make that trip.
I do have a fun fact about Munich. Did you know that Munich is probably the only city in the world where a snowboarder or skier meets a surfer in the subway on the bus? And it's not a joke. It's really, that can happen here because it's so easy to get from Munich within less than an hour, maybe around 1 hour, to the mountains. To actually, basically the train stop is right where the ski lift starts. So you get off the train and on the lift. And at the same time, we have a wave in the middle of the city. You can Google Munich wave, and it's a wave where there are surfers and they're 24/7 there, no matter if it's winter, if it's summer, if it's 10 a.m., if it's 3 a.m. in the morning. Honestly, whenever I went past that spot, there were surfers. They usually have lights, so everything is illuminated. At any given time of the year, of the day, there are surfers, and they go there with the bus or the train, and same as people who want to go to the mountains.
It's a wave in a river that is just is it man-made, or it's just formed naturally and people surf on it?
It's man-made. I think there might have been an initial small wave that someone did by accident, and then they made it bigger over time. So it really is a tourist place now.
That's so cool. And the nice thing about that is you don't have to paddle. The thing that always turns me off for surfing is it's so exhausting.
Yeah, people there are usually, most people are not more than 30 seconds on the wave, because you basically start from the side of the river, and you have to throw your board on the wave and land on it at the same time it lands on the water. And then you're on it, and you can go left, right, left, right. People do 180, sometimes they do 360s on the wave, and then sooner or later they fall down, and then the next person jumps on the wave.
Nice. Have you done it?
No, I've done surfing courses. I've done 2 in my life with 1 day each and 7 years in between. So I'm not not good now.
was worried about breaking his hip on the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you Google pictures, it looks fun. That's a cool stat of like surfers, and I like don't know, maybe somewhere in like BC, like British Columbia, because you're far enough north and you're on the water that like you could possibly get that. But yeah, you might be right that there's not exactly like a lot of that. That's so cool. I love that. I bet there's people who try to do both in one day.
Yeah, I'm sure people have done it.
Yeah, that's fun.
I have to ask
I
you
love
a
it.
question now, Alex.
Yeah.
You always call it Robertables. Why don't you call it Robert Tables?
I don't know. Robertable Robert Tables, can you solve this mystery for me? Am I right? Am I wrong?
What?
How do we want to call it? I don't know. I just Robertables feels right to me.
Okay, I have to think of the XKCD comic when I read that. I'm not sure if that's the story behind it. I don't know the story. Do you know the XKCD?
No, I know XKCD. I don't know that specific
Okay,
one.
I have to drop that.
It is from the XKCD comic. That's
so
where it
Robert
comes from.
Tables. I feel like
It rolls off the tongue better.
Robertables feels like, yeah, Robertables versus like,
Yeah.
hi, Robert Tables. So, yeah. Okay. We'll see.
If curious,
We'll see.
it's XKCD 327.
Yeah,
Got it.
It's
Okay. Yeah.
definitely worth doing. Worth looking at it, and it is like it has to do with tables and SQL injections.
Okay.
The Philly pronunciation. The joy. Let's see. What else is on the
I get it. That's a good one. But yeah, it is from the comic. But the pronunciation is from Brent, and it's Philly Hooligans. So
Okay.
we could start calling you Bobby Tables if you want to just dive into the comic. That would be good. Yeah. But I don't know.
We'll do a poll.
Robertables rolls off the tongue later a little better.
Like Robertables doesn't have any input on this. We're just like,
No.
just here's the name for you. Okay, thanks. You don't have a say-so on this stream. So yeah, no, this is good. Okay, so skiing, snowboarding, surfing.
You also mentioned you go to music festivals when we were chatting
I do.
earlier. What type of music?
Electronic music mostly. So
Okay.
I when I was young, teenager age, and like, yeah. So it's different in Germany, but so when you're 16, you can do a lot of things that you cannot do in the US. So go to festivals, enjoy beer. So I think when I was 16, I went to this called Southside Festival. It's really hard to pronounce correctly, but I think you got what I mean. Southside Festival in Germany, in the southern part of Germany. And this is more like a mixed music festival with like mostly around rock bands. So Linkin Park was there, Billy Talent, but there's also some hip hop and some electronic music. And over time, I more went into the listening to mostly electronic music, and then I go to festivals that are like have a lot more artists in that from that genre.
Yeah, that's fun. Classic German electronic is Kraftwerk, obviously. That's old school. They're like an old school techno, I would call it, maybe, like band. Like they're just kind of funny. They're just a funny. Yeah. I feel you. I used to go to more, but don't go to, there was one in Denver that we went to, but we took our daughter, and we took her home before the stuff. We're going to a bluegrass festival. That's the big thing in Colorado. There's bluegrass everywhere, and so there's a bluegrass festival here that we're going to take Isla to.
I was like, are you going to take her to a German electronic festival? That's what I thought you were.
I'm going to take Isla to just hardcore EDM. We're going to EDC in Vegas with my daughter.
I was like, wow, that just like got the headphones. I was like,
Yeah.
whenever I see like the babies at these concerts, I'm like, wow, you're living life on the wild side.
Throw them in your backpack. If they'll tolerate headphones, they're gonna have a great time. My daughter loves to dance and listen to music. She has a great time. There's no issues there. But what's the next show you're going to, or the next festival? Or do you not have any planned?
I do have a few planned. Well, I mean, a few. I am going to a festival in Germany. It's called the Fusion Festival. That is for I think almost a week on the end of June and goes into July. There are a few smaller festivals in Munich that just are basically one day. So it's just basically a Saturday, I think. And yeah, this is basic. But I've also been to EDC and Ultra in Miami, so I've been to a few US ones as well. And I've been to a bluegrass festival in San Francisco. It's every year in Golden Gate Park. What's the name? What is the name? Do you know the name of that one, Alex?
No.
I think it's Hardly Strictly Bluegrass, something like that.
You're not following the bluegrass fans?
I enjoy bluegrass. My friends were way more into it than me. Like, there's good stuff. I know some of the big names, but like I don't know the little ones, and I don't know all the festivals. But it's jam bands and bluegrass are like the staples of Colorado. It's just like it's everywhere.
It's the thing.
Yeah, but I got to see Andrew Bird last weekend. He's one of my favorites. And then
music is I also feel like whenever the concerts are overseas, like it's just such a different vibe. I think because folks have been partying since they were like 10. It's just they've gotten it, gotten the muscles ready. Versus I just in the States, I'm like, come on, people, liven it up. So no, that's pretty cool. I just feel like, Marius, you're this like well-rounded, like I feel like, Marius, you've lived many lives, and you're like all the things. No, yeah, that was pretty cool. Let's see, what do you any future builds, like what do you, I know you have some concerts on in the mix. Are you just like, I'm chilling out for this summertime? What's the vision for the next couple of months?
Well, I definitely try to roll this, like what you see, the Wheel of Fortune. It's like there are a few things that are not yet ready. It looks nice on my screen, but it's not responsive as of now. And at events, we want to show it at larger screens. So
Got it.
I need to make that more responsive. But once that's ready, the next big thing is that I'm currently working with Nathaniel and also with some support from Emily to bring Twilio Barista to the next level, because you probably know Barista, the Twilio Barista. It's like also a WhatsApp bot that has been around for a very long time, that we usually do at large events where field marketing is, or at first party events such as Signal, where people can walk up to the barista and instead of ordering, they could scan a QR code, see the entire menu on WhatsApp, also with the content API features that I used. And for example, if someone doesn't know what an Americano is, or what is the difference between latte macchiato and cappuccino, they see it on the menu, and then they could order it there. And then it basically, like in a fast food restaurant, they get an order number, and then whenever the order is ready, they get a notification that it's ready for pickup. So this is already there, but we want to bring it to the next level to support other modes such as smoothies, not just coffee or coffee-like beverages. We were thinking about adding some AI that you're able to chat with it, to maybe ask it like, what is the best coffee? What do I need after like a 3-hour workshop to get awake, to be awake again? Maybe you could ask it questions like that.
Quadruple shot of espresso. It's just always gonna answer that. Yeah, that's cool. And maybe you'll do what Luis does, our evangelist in Brazil, who like he has one number and there's like 20 different demos that he runs off of his one number. So maybe you'll just have this one number and all the demos will run. If you type Wheel of Fortune or whatever, Wheel of Twilio, or if you type barista, like, yeah, you can get them all in there. Do you think that the work you just did on this wheel of, what are you calling it? Wheel of?
It still doesn't have a name. I think it is stream, I said Wheel of Fortune all the time. I was trying to force myself to call it Spin to Win or Spin and Win. I'm not decided yet. What do you think? What sounds best?
That was good. My thought was to call it Wheel of Twilio, but yeah. That was one way to do it. But anyways, do you think that your work on that is going to make it easier to do more stuff for the Barista Bot or Smoothie Bot?
Oh yeah, for sure. I am planning to copy some things of it also, because what is usually a lot of work at events when we do the barista is that we usually scan people to get their lead information from the event so that we can later send them a thank you email that they stopped by at the Twilio booth. But this is now, as of now, manual work where someone actually stands there and scans the code. And now with this verification email, we already have the first step. So we ask them for their email, we ask for their consent, obviously, in the email, and on the screen you might have seen that note. And then you don't need anyone to scan it anymore. So if we add that to the barista or mixologist, that will free up a lot of people at the Twilio booth to actually have conversations and less be a human robot who scans badges. Another product that is currently not yet in the Wheel of Twilio is Segment. So this is something I was thinking of, to call a Segment API to find out. Maybe we would make it a requirement that someone is a user of Twilio to spin the wheel or to place a bet. So we could use the Segment API to connect to the profiles to find out, is that email address associated to a Twilio account? And if it is, great, then the user can follow the flow. If not, we could ask them to sign up for a Twilio account right where they are. This is something we might think about here.
I like that. That's a good way to do it. Yeah, there's so many interesting things you can do with Segment, and it's like, could you also be like, oh, we also saw you at, this event 3 months ago at this other place. Welcome to the event here in Germany. Like, that'd be pretty cool too.
We could do that. Currently, you saw this time to live at 7 days. We clear all data there, but in theory, it would be possible to feed that data into a separate Segment instance to find out which is the city that most people bet on, how often are people coming back or reoccurring. We could connect it to the mixologist to say, do people who usually prefer, Paris prefer cappuccino than espresso? Maybe that would be possible as well.
Yeah, lots of cool stuff. Well, Marius, thank you so much for joining us here on A/B testing.
Thank you. It was really. Oh, go first.
Yeah.
I just want to say it was great being here. Thanks for the invitation. This time was really flying by. We talked for so much. It was so much fun. So I really enjoyed being here.
It is fun. That's why we do it.
No, yeah, I loved it. I love how you had the effect, Marius, that you hope to have on other folks that come to your talk. So even Alex being like, wait, let me try and tinker, or I want to go build. And I love how kind of even just with your fellow colleague, right? Someone feeling inspired to build. And so, thank you so much for sharing what you've been working on. We hope to see you back. And thank you so much for hanging out with us.
And for staying up late with us.
Oh my gosh, yes. The stream party.
It's 10 p.m. for you now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
is it dinner time or is it bedtime? What are you going to go do now? What's the rest of the night for you?
So I knew I usually have dinner between 7 or 8 because I knew that we would do this recording. I already had a late afternoon snack, so probably now I'm not sure. I'm not that hungry. Maybe I make something small and maybe I just watch some Netflix.
Thank you so much. And we're definitely going to have you back on, maybe to build some stuff with me, or maybe just to chat more about all the different things. But
awesome. Let's do that.
Yeah, definitely. And Bianca and I will be back next Tuesday, same time, same place, 2 p.m. Eastern. Twilio, Devs, Twitch, and YouTube, all the things. And we'll be back, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you everybody for joining us.
Thanks y'all for hanging. We'll see y'all.